Okay, welcome back guys, and in the previous lesson we implemented this search feature here, and that allows the user to type something in the search box. So for example, if we type in fridge, then it will simply go off to the API and pull back the results matching that search term. But if you notice on our network tab here, we're doing an awful lot of network requests. Every single time we're pressing a key, we're then going off to the API and making the request. And we certainly don't want to do that, so we're going to overload our API. So to fix this, what we want to do is use a technique called debouncing. So debouncing will effectively just wait until the user has finished pressing a key, and once that happens after a certain period of time, we can then make the call to the API. Okay, so let's do that. And we're going to do that in our search component here. And where we have the handle change, rather than going immediately off to navigate, we're going to set a state variable to hold the search term, and then we're going to have a normal JavaScript timeout that will wait for half a second, and when the half a second finishes, we can then do our navigate. Alright, sounds good, let's do it. So to start off, we're going to create ourselves a search term state variable. So let's call it search term, and then set search term. And we're going to use the normal state hook, and we're going to default it to an empty string. Alright, so that will be the search term that we send to our navigate here. And in our handle change, we're simply going to set this search term with our target from our inputs here. So let's do set search term, and that will be the normal target, so ev target.value. So that's the search term coming from our input here. And then we're going to do something with our navigate. We need to set ourselves a little timer. So what we're going to do is use the use effect hook and look for any changes to our search term here. Alright, so let's do use effect, React use effect, and that is going to have a dependency on the actual search term itself. There it is. So whenever our search term changes, whenever we actually type something on our input box, is going to update our search term in our state, and then the use effect hook will fire because we have the dependency here. And then this is where the magic happens. We're going to create ourselves a JavaScript timeout. So we can do set timeout, and we're going to have a delay, perhaps half a second. Let's do 500 milliseconds. And then if we have a search term, so if we're not blank, then we can do our navigate. So we go down to here and take this navigate and just paste it into there. Alright. And rather than ev.target.value, we can now set it to search term. This is also asking for an update of a dependency. So let's say navigate, just to keep it happy. There we go. And what we need to do next is tidy this use effect hook up. And we've talked about this before. So on all the use effect hooks, if necessary, for example, when we have a timeout, we want to stop the timer firing. So when the actual component finishes, we don't want our timeout to be firing in the background. So we need to clear it up. So how do we do this? Well, we can simply take the output of this set timeout call, which will give us effectively an ID for the timer. And then when the actual component demounts or unmounts, it will fire a little cleanup routine. And to do that, all we need to do is just do return and then clear timeout, and then pass it the actual name of our timer here, which is delay, like that. So just to reiterate, when our use effect runs, it's going to create ourselves a little timer, and we're going to take the ID of that in this variable called delay. And then when React unmounts our component, let's say for example the user closes the browser, we don't want our timer to then fire. So we can simply take the ID of our timer, call clear timeout, and this little cleanup routine will get automatically fired by React when the actual component is unloaded. That is how you clean up things like timers, for example, or maybe database connections or anything like that. Okay, let's now give it a go and see if that works. So here we are back in our web page. Let's now do a little test and do Samsung. So if you see as I'm typing, we're not making any requests until I actually finish typing. That's our first request. Let's, for example, delete all of this and then type fridge and wait, and then we get our search results coming back. So that is a much nicer user experience and certainly a lot nicer to our API server. And of course, if we want to change the timeout, we can simply change it from 500 milliseconds to whatever we like. Maybe we want to make it smaller, or maybe you want to put an even bigger delay, maybe a second or so. But that's completely down to you. So this little bit of boilerplate code is how you would actually implement any debouncing or any API call, for example. All right. So anything I want to do to tidy this up is perhaps, for example, if we don't have any search results, let's say I type in a whole load of gibberish like this, we've just got a blank page. So it would be nice if we put, for example, no results found. So let's do that. So we can do that in our search results down here. At the moment we have this little bit of line of code here. So what we can do is put an if statement in render products and do if products.data length is greater than 0, and then we can simply output this markup of our products. Otherwise, we are going to simply output a message something like no results found. Okay, let's just tidy that up. And now we don't do this little check because it's handled inside our render products function. We can simply do render products. Let's give that a test. And now if I type something, I get nothing coming up. And so why have I got nothing coming up? Let's go back, and it looks like I forgot to put the return statement. So we just have to put a return here. Always have to make sure you return some JSX, of course, to React. Let's give that a save. And now we get no results found. Perfect. So let's do fridges. And we get some results. Let's put in some rubbish. And we get no results found. Very nice. Okay, let's leave it there, and I shall see you in the next lesson.